Well, this essential understanding is important because it is historical. And because I think our students should realize that it wasn't people doing things to each other, because then you get that whole conflict again. It was more policies that were put in place. And so I think that's where we wanted to focus on those policies and how important, and that's the government policies. We don't want people to be mad at the government, but to at least understand that it's policies that caused a lot of the conflict and not so much the people-to-people conflict that happened. I'm talking about the Western people and Oceti Sakowin people. And so what we did with this one is we broke it into different eras because it's, so big. And we started out with the winter counts. And in fact, a lot of units, I think, are already written about the winter counts. But Smithsonian did a wonderful job with the winter counts. And so that's why we started out with that first time period. And that was one way that our people kept track of what happened. And that it was a way of recording that history, that historical history. And if you take, and I'm sure the people that went to Washington this summer, when they talk about their units and they talk about seeing the winter counts at the Smithsonian, when they took different winter counts and laid them all side by side, they all basically had something that was recorded on each one of them that was significant. And then the second part of that, of course, was starting the treaty making policy. And even I don't understand the treaty making even today, but that's important for our students in South Dakota to understand what that treaty is and what that treaty means, and why were they broken, and what was the consequences of all of that. And so that's the second part of that, was that whole treaty making. And then the third part, that time period, policies that came up, was that whole idea of the removal and relocation of Native peoples, or the Oceti Sakowin, and what that looked like, and how did that affect people. And so that was the third part of that. And the fourth part of that is, again, trying to move to the positive, is the reorganization and self-government. That it's important that our students, even when they're little, understanding that whole idea of self-governance, because someday they're going to be leaders, and someday they're going to want to maybe run for tribal council. And it's important for our non-Native students to understand that, what kind of government that is, and why that came about, And I'm sure Lydia can talk a lot about that because she's a tribal council member. It's been working in tribal council. And then the last part of that is the termination period and and then, of course, self-determination to present. But I've been reading a book, and it's, let me think of the name of it. It's Jerry Mohat. It's something about a gift, thankful for a gift. And in this book, he's a medicine man. So he talks about the ceremonies and how he became a medicine man. But he said the healing will happen when everyone is of one mind. And I think that's so important in all of our history, throughout our history, that if we were understood why this happened, understood the experiences that the Oceti had, that maybe our children can become one mind, and they won't be these divisions, and things will happen more positively for our people. And so that was kind of our idea when we were thinking ahead, that it would be nice for our students to have those learning experiences in school, so when they leave, they can be of one mind and decide what's important for the people. And maybe in the ceremonies it happens, but not like day-to-day things that are happening. There's so many factions, you know, and with politics, well, we know what politics are out there. And gee, even talking about Republicans and Democrats. I mean, we can't even come together for the good of the people, you know, we're not together. And so on the reservations, it's the same thing. You know? You've got one person who is in power, political power, and you've got all his friends, and then you've got all these other people who might be against him. So you've got all these factions that are against each other. So no, I don't think it's that way yet. But we're hoping it will become that way.
Any idea what it would take to get that way?
I think just having our students talk about it, analyze it, using our Oceti Sakowin standards, and realizing it. That, you know, it's more powerful when we're in one mind, you know, when we all agree on something and we come together. Yeah.